So, today we have an important video. We are going to be making a definitive ranking of 20 of the best animated movies of all time, based on a very important criteria, and that is their use of the infamous DreamWorks Face. Now, if you are unfamiliar with what DreamWorks Face is, it is the phenomenon in animated and even live action, but today we're looking at animated movie marketing that causes every main character on a poster to raise one eyebrow into the camera. Wow. Whoa. There we go. Looking at myself in the recording totally broke my brain as to which half of my face was which. We're gonna be basing this on a few criteria. Number one, the character's prominence within the frame. Very important, how much space is the DreamWorks Face taking up? Number two, lack of context as to why they are making this face. The less reason we have for understanding why this character is raising their eyebrow, the better use of DreamWorks Face it is. And number three, and most importantly, eyebrow ratio. How high is one eyebrow in relation to another? Two raised eyebrows, not nearly as strong as one extremely low and one extremely high. Factors that are not included, specifically success of the movie and quality of the movie, factors 0 in these rankings. Let's start where this really started for DreamWorks and where they found their most success, and that is with Shrek. Specifically, this one is for Shrek Forever After. I would say for prominence within the frame, this is not the strongest example. Lack of context, there is almost never any context to why someone would be making this face. So unless we can specifically identify a reason for that within a poster, it's probably going to be not that much of a factor for most of these. Eyebrow ratio, not that great. A factor that I didn't mention, if you can have multiple DreamWorks faces in the same poster, that is going to get you bonus points. And that is a huge one here. We have Shrek being the main focus. Fiona also has it. I have no idea who this guy is. I've never seen Shrek Forever After, or even Shrek the Third. I think we're gonna have to take Shrek Forever After. I think we're gonna have to give it a solid B tier. To just get it out in the open here, we have to go with one of the front runners and probably the favorite to take this award away. And that's, oh my God, what happened to my Boss Baby picture? What is this? Hold on. Boss Baby, one of the most iconic DreamWorks faces, not only because it's a baby who is posed extremely like an adult, but I mean, the eyebrow flow in this, like we know the proportion of one eyebrow being raised to the other one being lowered is extremely important. But when you have the kind of thin eyebrow flow that this has, I mean, we really got to get in here for a second to see, but I mean, these are flowing perfectly like a roller coaster, one to the other. You could connect them with a line, and that kind of directional action across the DreamWorks face, the glazed over eyes, the smirk is extremely important. Some people like to call it the Dream Smirk instead of DreamWorks Face. Prominence in the frame is excellent. Completely out of context. No reason for anyone to be making this face. He's leaning on nothing. So actually bonus points for lack of context, because even him on this poster just makes no sense as to why he's leaning on anything. When you Google Boss Baby, I mean, he's doing DreamWorks. He is doing this face in every single poster in different ways. Unique, different DreamWorks faces across every single promotional image that you can find for anything related. This is the sequel. So Boss Baby, obvious S tier, far and away the leader in the clubhouse at the moment. We're gonna mix it up a little bit, and we're gonna move away from DreamWorks, and we're gonna go to Horton Hears a Who. This is an interesting one because if we zoom in here, you might think, oh, well, this is a double. No, this is not. This is just two eyebrows raised. But if we zoom way in, we do have a bit of raised eyebrow. Now the second eyebrow is a bit obfuscated here, so we can't tell 100%, but I'm gonna count that as a secondary DreamWorks face. And then when we look at Horton's face, he's got huge, very strong separation, very glazed over eyes. This smirk is extremely strong. When I look at this as a whole, we have an elephant, so obviously taking up a large amount of the frame. We even have a third potential kind of face here. Right here, we have another, there's not that much separation, so I'm not gonna give it too many points for that one, but just adding to the overall effect. I mean, because Boss Baby just sets the standard so high for S tier, I'm gonna have to give it only A tier, but we'll revisit that as we see how this gets filled in. Frozen, you have some eyebrow raise across the board from Sven and Olaf, but we're really looking at Anna here. She's the only one who has the separation that we're looking for. It's such a garbage low res image of this. You have having this show up in, you know, a really big Disney Animated Studios movie is huge, but like I said, film success not a factor. Let's check out an interesting one, potentially a contender, and that is Turbo. Why I kind of thought this might be a contender, a snail has very prominent eyeballs. You're not getting the most distinctive separation in terms of eyebrow level, and interestingly, there's actually no eyebrow at all. So you could even disqualify this from the running if you wanted to, but I don't think that should be the case. For prominence within the frame, because a snail's eyeballs are such a distinctive feature, the most distinctive feature other than maybe the shell, I think that this gets some bonus points, but it doesn't have the traditional characteristics that we would be looking for. On the whole, rounding those two things against each other, I think it's only going to get an A tier. Chicken Little. The glasses really make this an interesting one for me. They create areas of definition by which you can judge the eyebrows. Where it loses some points is very little smirk, if any, and eyes are not glazed over at all. Disney movie characters, they have too much life and too much energy inside their eyes. I'm gonna put it in the A tier as well. Speaking of Disney, we're gonna go back and we're gonna find potentially the earliest example of DreamWorks Face in film history. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the first feature-length production for Walt Disney. And you might be saying, Snow White's expression, we do have separation here of the eyebrows. The left one really needs to be lowering down more for us to really be having the effect that we want. But Grumpy is kind of reversing his way into a DreamWorks face. Now, it's not traditional because normally the eyebrow that's up is the one that's leaning most into the camera. We still have significant separation in terms of the direction that the eyebrows are going. We have the one that's down, and then we have the other one that's kind of raised higher. It just gets cut off because of the positioning of his head a little bit. This is definitely not the strongest contender by any means, but I thought it was worth including for historical context. So for that reason, we're going to put it in the C tier. Cars is an interesting one because, again, no real human eyebrows, no hair. But the fact that they worked this expression onto a car is pretty incredible. We're gonna drop Cars into the A tier. B movie. This one just kind of makes me sad, actually, that it exists. Our last entry from DreamWorks, and again, one of the most iconic that's used to depict this phenomenon, Megamind. Not only one, but two faces extremely prominent on this poster with incredible eyebrow separation, decent smirk. The eyes are a little bit not as glazed over as I might like. The lack of context is strong, especially considering they're two opposing forces who for some reason on the poster are making the exact same expression. They just couldn't be acknowledging each other any less. Really adds to the overall aesthetic that we're going for here. So Megamind is a clear S tier. We're gonna get into the final four, and it is what I'm calling the Toy Story block. And we're mostly looking at Buzz. Buzz Lightyear is one of the most notorious. I mean, he does this expression ridiculous amount of times throughout the movies, as well as on the poster. So it actually, a small amount of points are lost because contextually, this is actually an expression he would make in the movie in certain points. So the out of context factor is lost a little bit. Toy Story 2, again, the expression is fantastic. You're getting a little bit from Buzz, even a little bit from Jesse here, even though their expressions are different. But it's just Buzz's, just his general dead eyes, just completely dead inside, completely glazed over, yet his eyebrows are so weirdly expressive compared to what his eyelids and his actual eyes are doing. When we look at Toy Story 3 here, not nearly as strong. Woody's got a little bit, he's got some expression. Buzz has got a version of his classic, but he's just not getting as much eyebrow separation. He's not as prominently featured. Toy Story 4, it's just impossible to decipher how to place this because Forky, is this DreamWorks Face? I have no idea. His eyebrow meets in the middle. It's going both up and down. Toy Story 1, the classic iconic Buzz expression is going to give it an A tier for me. And then Toy Story 2, that's an obvious S tier. I think it's safe to close out any of these others that are not these three. So, sorry, Horton. Horton, I'm going to... Wow. I'm going to make a call here, and I'm going to say that Horton gets bumped up to S tier. That eyebrow movement is just incredible. Probably has the most, the closest to having his eyes closed. When you really examine the features from a technical level, it's pretty incredible performance here from Horton. Versus Toy Story 2, which has some other stuff, and this Buzz. This is tough, man. You can really make a case. And then Boss Baby is just, again, his eyes are so closed and just glazed over and giving you nothing by way of any expression. The smirk is not anywhere near Horton levels in terms of size, but the smugness. And I just think by name, it really has to go to a DreamWorks movie, the #1 spot. We have Horton in the 4 spot. I think we're going to put Toy Story 2 in the 3 spot. So we're really deciding between, do we think the one most iconic eyebrow raise, does that beat out having just this phenomenal double dose? In a real upset, I'm going to have to give it to Megamind. Again, I've never even seen this movie, but this is just incredible. The boldness to have two characters who are opposing each other have the exact same stupid expression. Boss Baby, it's a just and rightful contender. It's just sometimes 2 is better than 1. And in this context, for why is this a poster and why is this made this way, I can't give it to anyone. The boldness to do this, it's just it has to be Megamind. I think that's a pretty good ranking going from left to right and top to bottom here. We've answered one of the most important questions in all of movie history. So now you know Megamind, greatest animated movie of all time. Takes the cake. And I can say that definitively and accurately with never even having seen it.